Hi, good people. I'm just lying down because I'm in a little bit of pain. I have Crohn's disease, and sometimes my internal organs play up. But I can't get the right medication for it either. Even though I'm in the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, one of them isn't available. And if I could get it, I would feel so much better. But it costs. It's just too expensive for me. Anyway, our government, the Labor Party in particular, uh, they're risking our lives, the Australian lives. They are putting us into a seriously dangerous situation. They seem to enjoy it. I think they take a sexual fetish from it because it can't be explained any other way. So what's happening is we are seeing the Intifada being globalized. Really in the UK and Australia, Keir Starmer and Anthony Albanese. Anthony Albanese and Keir Starmer are not the leaders. You can tell that because they don't have an answer to anything if you ask them a random question. They won't even know who to ask. They'll just ignore it. We've seen that with Albanese on TV. He just walks right by anybody with a serious concern. He's not concerned with Australians. So, how does... Let me explain something. Another thing earlier. Australia has, since the 19th century, had Muslims. We had the Afghans here who were out in the middle of nowhere, operating as dovers and jackaroos, and did an exceptional job. They would pray, and it wasn't. They wouldn't do it in the middle of the street. They also didn't try to recruit everybody, especially the weak-minded people. They didn't try to recruit useful idiots. They didn't want that. But with the radical Islamists, there's a couple of different levels to this that I'm very well aware of. The first one is, it's all about money. So Hamas leaders are worth billions of dollars because they're able to sell the aid into Ramallah, Gaza, and also other Middle Eastern nations. They'll loot it. There's historical evidence of them. They'll shoot at anybody who tries to take the aid for themselves. Now, they can also take donations from these useful idiots in Australia who are giving money. They're out there in the protest saying, can you donate to our whatever? I don't want to get too deep into it because hate speech laws, got to be careful these days. You can't say that mosques are taking money then sending it back to the Middle East and somehow it ends up in the hands of some very evil organisations. Did you know that there are terrorist organisations that are not on the terrorist watch list in Australia, but in other countries they are? And all of the Middle Eastern countries have these organisations on their terror watch list. There's quite a few. ASIO right now, I think, has 20,000 people under surveillance. That just leaves me to another question: how many more don't they have under surveillance? But what is happening is the globalization of the Intifada. Now, what is the Intifada? The first Intifada was 1987. It was basically the first religious-based uprising against the Israelis, right? All the Jordanians and Saudis. They call themselves Palestinians, but their last names are all Jordanian or Saudi. But they attacked Israel. See, the Islamists, they will never recognize Israel. Although their prophet Muhammad seemed to not be able to stop talking about Israel. He never once mentioned Palestine. Maybe he made a mistake or something. Maybe that's how they rationalize it. But the Islamists will never accept Israel. They'll never. Now, the Jews are the first. then it's the Christians, right? And so the Jews are like the test. So there's only 20 million of them worldwide. So, 500 million Arabs. So they tend to think, well, if we can get rid of the Jews first, we can work out that. We can move on to others. But the problem is that how the Intifada is being globalised is through the useful idiots and the radical left-wing lunatics. And our democratic, civil, pluralistic, gay is okay societies. Now, I'm an Australian. I believe wholeheartedly that if you're gay or LGBTQ, you should be allowed to walk around safely and peacefully in the streets. And if anybody pushed you and I saw it, I'd defend you. I mean, it's intolerable. But it leads me to another question is, why were there LGBTQ for Palestine or LGBTQ for Gaza? Right? And here's the funny thing. The Muslims were like the Arabs who it's not really a lot of Arabs. Because it's about globalizing. It's about getting the useful idiots to do the dirty work on the streets. But how it works is, they'll just go along, yes, takia, we'll deceive you right up until you're no longer useful. Then what will happen? Well, they want nothing to do with, we don't need to discuss that. But another thing to also very quickly mention, since about 1901, practically every month there has been a terrorist attack launched against Israel. There's been wars launched against Israel to remove Israel from the Middle East. It's as though Islam has the rest of the region, but they just want to get rid of Israel. It's like a sick, psychopathic, what is it? Maniacal insanity, really. That was given to the Jews. That's 1948. It was finally written on paper. Although it seems like you can find maps that are 1,000 years old that have Israel there. The Palestine maps are all from English. They call it British Mandated Palestine. Not a lot of them know that. A lot of them do truly believe that Palestine, it was called Palestine 3,000 years ago, because the narrative is all that matters to them. Now, the reason why a lot of these useful idiots get on board with Palestine is they see themselves in the struggle of the Palestinian people. Now, the Palestinian people's true struggle is against Hamas right now. And if it's not Hamas, it's Islamic Jihad. If it's not that, it's another one. It'll be against Fatah. It'll be another organisation pop up, But they see their struggle in their inferiority complex that they have, or their father issues, or the fact that they've never really taken care of themselves. They will see themselves and their struggle as the Palestinian struggle. This is where this is really where the beauty of the Palestinian movement comes to fruition, because what it can do is it can say, yes. Now you protest in the street for us and donate $5-10 every few days, and it will do that for as long as it takes in order for specific suburbs to be taken over and enclaves, as we see in Lakemba in Sydney. Now, that might be first, then it might be Burwood, then it might be Cabramatta, then it might be another place. And then you can't enter into it, I can't enter into it. There'll be exactly what is anti-Australian, which is we won't have freedom of movement. And these people now, their identity is Palestine, Gaza, Hamas. It is now the Intifada. That is now part of who they are. because they've identified themselves with these people. And now the issue is, they've found a cause for their pathetic and miserable lives. How do they maintain that? Now, the cult always requires devotion and to show your devotion. Remember Charles Manson? And I think he called himself, I think it was called the Manson family, wasn't it? What they had to do to show their devotion. So what do you think these useful idiots are going to do when they're protesting in the streets? They're going to get more radical. They're going to get more insane. There are a bunch of people who started praying in the middle of a street. The cops got rid of them. And the protesters all around them were going crazy. They were losing their minds, blocking a road. So now the rule of law, or keeping the society peaceful and civil, is no longer part of their agenda. Their agenda is, I have to remain part of this cult. I have to show my loyalty and devotion to the cult, and the cult will continue to ask me to do more radical things. Don't know what that is. And it's getting crazy. It's going to get worse. And at the same time, in particular Labour Party, but really the Uni Party, Labour and Liberal, are so weak and feckless. But also they have their authoritarian desires to take and control us. They're using this as deflection from their anti-Australian stance on a lot of things, which is basically to control our speech and to be able to crush dissent, authoritarian. Yeah. They're trying to balance this with pro-Hamas, this, agenda in Australia, the pro-Palestine, whatever you want to call it, movement. Keep these radicals at arm's length, but use them to build that tension within the society, and then let the blowback occur, which will be violence in the streets, which I do not support. But once that happens, then they'll say, the people have turned violent. Now we have to bring in even more draconian, authoritarian, Orwellian 1984 laws. The problem is with their thinking is they obviously don't know their history. They will be overthrown by radical elements. I don't understand why what's her name? Penny Wong can't open a history book. I don't know what they think they're going to get away with, because they're not going to make it. When you let in radical extreme elements in, and you give them enough power that they're able to build their base domestically, inside a new, or to globalize it, bring it to another country, and raise domestic forces within that country, it's not just an invasion. They're going to overthrow the government. And the government politicians are going to have to run and scram and, disappear to a safe country. Like, well, I guess President Trump won't be around probably when this happens. But they'll have to get out because they will be hunted. I don't understand why they don't understand this. It's pure, easy history 101. But they're also taking us down with them. So we're going to be left picking up the pieces of this destructive force, this whole Palestine thing. We're in for a real rough time, and nothing is changing. More Australians are going homeless, and the government doesn't seem to want to do anything, and it's so afraid of making a move, but it doesn't really want to make a move because it needs these elements in order to bring in the kind of authoritarianship they want. We're in some very scary times. We're going to lose everything in this. So have a backup plan to get out, move to the Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia. You know, the Thailand, southern Philippines, they know how to deal with it. They have military everywhere around these Islamists. Here in Australia, they're able to, they could do anything they want. Government thinks they're going to be able to control it. They won't. So we better have backup plans to just escape. Because it's going to get ugly. And at this point, I don't think there's a way out. I really can't see it happening. Anyway, good people, if you vote Labor, you're an idiot. And you should probably go to Gaza or take some of these new migrants into your home. Take a lot of the Muslim ones as well, please. Anyway, take the ISIS brides. However, they got all the bloody help in Australia, and yet I can't even get the medication I need. How about that? Anyway, stay safe, people. Watch out for politicians. They're dangerous. And watch out in the streets. You don't want any trouble with those people. The protesters. They're all crazy. Because now they're indebted to the cult for their identity. So they're going to get more crazy, and government ain't going to stop it. They love it because they're going to introduce more authoritarian powers. Just stay safe, good people. Get your exit strategies together. Move to a safer country if you can. And I might see you there. Okay, bye for now.